This is how one trip changed my entire life. And I'm not even kidding. This isn't clickbait. It actually changed my life by a simple life lesson that took me way too long to learn. Before we get into the deep talk, I want to share some other stuff that I did on this trip, good and bad, because it played a huge part in what I learned later in my trip. We started off our trip really late. We left at noon and we arrived at our destination in the AM hours. I personally didn't pack until the morning of, and I didn't have any of the footage that I needed to edit on this trip on my thumb drive. And I had roughly 25 gigabytes worth to transfer from my computer. We were also hauling a trailer, which caused extra stress on my family, specifically my dad, because of course he's the one driving, he's the one who set up the trailer, and it just caused a whole lot more anxiety surrounding the situation. However, when we got there, my brother and I took an awesome tour at a nearby asylum. It was a really cool experience, and since we both enjoy playing Dead by Daylight, it was a cool yet creepy experience. My brother got a lot of furniture from my aunt for his upcoming transition into apartment life, which was a huge blessing for us because he's not spending nearly the amount of money on furniture now. And we also had access to 2 cars on this trip, so I was able to go out on my own. We only brought up one, but we were staying at my grandparents' house, and they unfortunately don't live there anymore, but my grandmother had her car in the garage, so my brother and I were able to use that car if we wanted to. This was my first time with regular freedoms on a vacation, so it made the whole trip for me even more enjoyable. This allowed me to go to the library to edit. I got breakfast by myself at a local restaurant, and I didn't have phone service, by the way, which was very interesting because I was sitting at a 4-person booth by myself getting some weird looks. And I was also able to travel to the nearby coasts since we were on a coastline. All of this to say, it was a great trip that had a lot of anxiety surrounding the trip, considering my grandmother was slowly declining even while we were there. I should mention the whole point of this trip was to go and see family, but the main point was to see my grandmother because we didn't know if we were going to be able to see her again. We haven't seen her as a family in over 6 years. So this trip was really important for us seeing our grandmother. One night I decided to go to the beach to relax and decompress, but ultimately because I had the ability and free will to do so, so I took it. So I'm on the beach right now, and I was just thinking to myself, I should really just make a commentary on this, and so that's what you're watching right now. But just look how beautiful this place is. It's like so unbelievably calming. It's crazy out here. And it's like, I think it's like 9:30 right now. I came out here for the sunset, and unfortunately, like, as you can see, like, it's all cloudy and stuff, so I didn't like get to see the sunset, but I got to see a red flaming ball kind of peer through, you know, that being the sun. But it was so red, and it was just kind of peering through the clouds. And even though I didn't really see the sunset, it's just so beautiful out here. I don't know. I just thought to myself, I should make a commentary, and that's why I'm filming myself. Being on the beach was the ultimate vibe. You know that feeling when you're able to do something late at night and no one is around and you're just kind of existing in the world? That's what it felt like, and it really made me reflect on something that my mind is constantly chasing: content. You know, and I'll say one more thing, actually. If you get the chance to go to one of your favorite places, just do it. You know, I think a life lesson that I've learned, and of course, it sounds cliche, and like, not everywhere you go, you're going to learn a life lesson, but I'm just sitting here and I'm thinking, like, what can I get out of this experience? And here's what I can get out of it, and here's what I can share with you. I was so nervous working up to this trip. This trip was an all-day trip, and we've been up here. This is our 3rd day, and we're leaving on Thursday. Today's Tuesday. You know, so it's a medium-sized trip. But the thing is, you know, I was so anxious and nervous going into like this trip, 5 days, where I'm like, I just need to have content. I need to be able to post, and especially, there's mosquitoes around me. Especially after a video that got 500 views and it had double my normal CTR, and a really good AVD, just a really good video on my end, that performed really well, and I was super proud of it. Going into this trip, I'm like, I need to have something to post, or else I'm just gonna lose all of that momentum. And you don't. You know, I edited today, and I feel good about myself, and I feel accomplished, even though I've only done the first game out of 3. That's fine. You know, sometimes life is about enjoying what's around you and not worrying about the future. Sometimes you have to just live in the moment, be in the moment, and not give a crap about anything else that is in front of you. So for me, what that looks like for me is it's not caring. Like, I would like to have 2 or 3 videos out over this 5-day period, and that's what I was planning for. But then it ended up all falling apart. I wasn't able to get the thumbnails in time. Hague, my graphic designer, was unable to get the stuff that I needed him to get those thumbnails, because he said that he could do it. He ended up bailing, which is fine. You know, like, that's just life. And sometimes life is about living in the present moment and not worrying about the future. I have the rest of my life to do content, but I don't have the rest of my life to be out in some place like this and enjoy such beautiful scenery. So something that I learned here is don't take things for granted. Live in the moment. And sometimes stop and think, and just don't worry about the future, because not everything is about keeping up momentum. I don't know how you can take that into your context in your life, but that's what I learned here. Overall, this trip was a huge success for me and my family. Our family got to see my grandmother and all of our family that lived up there, specifically on my dad's side. We got furniture for my brother, like I was saying earlier. Like, it was a really good time. We had a really good relationship bonding between us and the people that we haven't seen in so long that's a part of our family. Ultimately, though, we got to see our grandmother, which was huge for us because we hadn't seen her as a family in over 6 years. The unfortunate but really interesting thing that happened was 5 days after we left, my grandmother passed away. And we were actually able to see her before she passed. Like, we had been trying to go and see her for 6 years now, to no avail up until now. And then 5 days later, she passed. So for me, I'm a religious person. I don't know about any of you watching, but for me, it just felt like God's hand was over her life, and she had the ultimate closure that she had seen everyone that she loved and cared for, and she was able to go. Which is just so cool to me. Even though she passed, I have complete closure about it. And it was great that we were able to see her again as a family. It has recently caused my dad a lot of stress because it's his mother, and my mother as well, because my mother's trying to support and be there for my dad, and especially my dad having 2 siblings that is not necessarily the easiest people to work with. You know, it can be frustrating at points, but overall it's been a good experience for me. It's been a good experience for my family walking out of that season, because this month has been all over the place with that situation. But I just thought I would share my experience with this trip because I absolutely loved it. And even though my grandmother passed, I mean, it just taught me so much, being up there, and it was just a good time. So overall, if you have the ability to go do something, don't worry about something else that you have to do. You don't have to make content. You don't have to, worry about your work schedule. You don't have to worry about pets. I mean, of course, you need to do your responsibilities and get someone to take care of that for you, but The point that I'm trying to get across is that if you have the opportunity to go do something and you're seriously able to do it, go do it. And don't worry about other things that are happening in your life, and just take that time to decompress and relax. Because for me, it helped so much in relieving stress from content creation. And now I'm back at it. And even though I took like 2 weeks off, I mean, I feel great and I feel ready to get back into content creation. So that was my experience. If you like these storytime videos and you're seeing me play Minecraft and not Bed Wars, which is interesting, just let me know your thoughts on this in the comments. And of course, I'll see y'all in the next one. Peace out.